Good morning and welcome to You Are Here. This is WERS's award-winning news and public affairs program. I'm Melissa Eads, your host for this morning. Each week we like to cover topics with global importance but with relevance to you. Today we explore 5 different stories of people who are fighting for a cause. Whether it's a personal situation or a public concern, we all have our battles to fight. And it seems especially lately, those battles are becoming more and more public. From Occupy Wall Street to the Arab Spring, fighting for a cause has, in a way, defined this past year. Today we bring you the stories of 5 different people and the battles they face. But first, we'll take a look at fighting foreclosure. Most sectors of the economy are improving except for housing. Last month saw a surge of foreclosures across the country. Reporter Ashley Benoit tells the story of one man's foreclosure experience and what he did to fight back. Next, reporter Emily Files will take us into a different type of fight, an internal one. The battle against post-traumatic stress, or PTSD, is something thousands of American soldiers and veterans go through each year. Files finds out what it's like to live with PTSD and what soldiers do to break free of it. After that, we'll take a closer look at potential cuts in MBTA services. The T is scrambling to close a $161 million budget gap for the next fiscal year. But what about the people that depend on the system as a lifeline? The ride is a service vital to the passengers that use it. Reporter Victoria Bedford brings us the story of fighting for the ride. Next, reporter Justine Borst takes a closer look at a very serious issue, child sex abuse. Experts say as many as 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 7 boys will be sexually abused at some point in their childhoods. Borst talks to a former victim of child sex abuse and finds out what she and others are doing to fight against the problem. Kony 2012, the video on Ugandan warlord Joseph Kony, has been viewed more than 130 million times and received widespread acclaim, but a growing number have come forward to criticize the video as well. Reporter Anita Kalitzakis brings us the less-told story, people fighting against Kony 2012. To close the show, our news director Kana Dole speaks with Ava Montebello, the communications manager for the Enough Abuse campaign. The campaign's mission is to educate the community on how to prevent child sex abuse, and Montebello tells us about her work as an advocate. But first, we'd like to start each show with this week's top headlines in case you missed them. I'm Melissa Eads, and you're listening to You Are Here on 88.9 WERS. Welcome back to You Are Here. I'm your host, Alyssa Eads, and you've joined us for this hour on Fighting for a Cause. Last year, child sex abuse came to the forefront of the nation's attention when Penn State football coach Jerry Sandusky was charged with sexually abusing youth on campus. Unfortunately, child sex abuse is not uncommon. Experts say as many as 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 7 boys will be sexually abused at some point in their childhood. Millions of cases of sex abuse go unreported each year because children are often afraid to tell anyone what has happened, and the legal procedure for validating an episode is very difficult. Long-term emotional and psychological damage of abuse can be devastating. Reporter Justine Borst delves into these topics and more. Borst talks to a survivor of sexual abuse and finds out what she and others are doing now to fight back. A warning to sensitive listeners, the story does allude to the existence of sex, and while it is about children, it is not suitable for children.
Roseanne Sliney is a victim of child sexual abuse. Make that a survivor of child sexual abuse. The Waltham native was 5 years old when her uncle first abused her. She tells me she still remembers that first time he approached her.
He owned a business and he was teaching me certain things in the office and I would be on his lap. It started that way. And then it just slowly grew into more.
The abuse continued until she was 14. Over that 9-year period, her uncle raped her hundreds of times and forced her to have sex with other men as well. But even after he stopped, the abuse continued to take its toll.
It really is destructive to your life as, you know, you go into adulthood and you're dealing with so many different things, the abuse, the family, the shame, the guilt, and it takes a long time to understand and to get over it. A lot was taken away from me during my adult years. I never married or had children because of the abuse and because I was just not able to have those kind of relationships during that time.
Because of that, Sliney says she had nothing to lose by coming forward. She was 24 when she first told her sisters and brother that she was a victim of sexual abuse. But she didn't go public with her story until this past February, when she held a press conference to speak openly about her abuse and to share the evidence she has against her uncle.
He had given me this letter of apology, and it basically basically states what he was thinking, what he was feeling. He was sorry. He prayed to God for forgiveness, and it would never happen again.
Even though Sliney basically has a signed confession, she can't bring criminal charges against her uncle. You see, as the law stands now, the statute of limitations in child sexual abuse cases expires 27 years after the alleged victim's 16th birthday. Sliney, now 48, has already missed that cutoff. That's why she's fighting for Bill H-649. It's a piece of legislation that would eliminate the statute of limitations in these types of cases, meaning victims would have an indefinite amount of time to bring charges against their perpetrators, and to do so when they're ready, not when the law says they're supposed to be ready.
Because everyone's individual and everyone heals differently, there really shouldn't be a time clock.
But Sliney's not going solo on this one. She has the support of the Enough Abuse campaign, a grassroots movement that started in 2002 in response to the child sex abuse scandal that rocked the Catholic Church here in Boston. But even after that, we've still had our fair share of crises. From the Red Sox to Senator Scott Brown and even our local school systems, child sexual abuse remains a serious problem. But what is being done to stop it?
The Enough Abuse campaign's focus is on preventing child sexual abuse by raising awareness in adults.
Gail Sommer is director of the Community Support and Prevention Program at the Newton Community Service Center. She also works in partnership with the Enough Abuse campaign, offering training programs to teach adults to recognize the signs of sexual abuse and how to respond, and to teach children to speak up, that they should get help and it's never their fault if someone abuses them. Eva Montebello, the communications manager for the Enough Abuse campaign, says this combined tactic of awareness and prevention really works.
We had one mother that went to an Enough Abuse training and then went home, told her daughter all about it, and immediately the daughter came out and said, "Oh, the superintendent of our building approached me about doing a sexual favor." And when that happened in the Orange Ethel area, it was a kickstart to say, "Oh my goodness, this stuff works." This is where we all need to be. We all need to be advocates and heroes and diligent to prevent child sexual abuse.
But now the campaign has its sights set on that bill. You know, 5 days ago, I had never heard of this legislation, even though it's been in the State Judiciary Committee since 2002. It's just never come to a vote. Similar legislation has already passed in 41 other states, including Maine and New Hampshire. So what's the hesitation here? Well, it's finally gaining some momentum in Massachusetts, and Montebello commends Representatives John Lawn and Tom Stanley for their support of the bill.
When you have legislators that stand, the survivors and stand toe-to-toe against the legislators that don't want this type of legislation to go through, it's something that's really extraordinary.
Their commitment has given hope to Sliney, who's filed a civil lawsuit against her uncle, but still hopes she'll have the chance to face him in criminal court. If the bill passes, she just might get that opportunity.
I want him to look at me. I just want to face him in court and have him look at me as an adult. I don't even care about money. I don't care about a settlement. I just wanted the opportunity for him to look me in the eye and see his reaction and if he actually has remorse.
Sliney told me several times, perpetrators don't retire until they're caught. The U.S. Sex Offender Registry reports the average pedophile molests 260 victims during their lifetime, but the FBI Law Enforcement Bulletin estimates that only 10% of these cases are ever reported. Sommer says that's why it's so important for the statute to be repealed. She says it's the only way abusers can be held accountable for their crimes.
It sends an important message to those who hurt children that they can't breathe easily, that they can be tried for their crimes. It sends a message to survivors that even if you are unable to tell as soon as it happens, it's never too late to tell and get justice.
Sommer says child sexual abuse makes the victim feel powerless, but being able to come forward, no matter how long after, allows them to take that power back.
Part of the healing process is having some control and feeling empowered.
That's certainly something Sliney has learned along the way. She says the relief of coming forward and the outpouring of support has finally allowed her to put the blame where it belongs.
Being able to speak publicly has truly lifted that shame and guilt that just was like a 100-pound weight on my shoulders my whole adult life. I almost feel like I'm free.
That's a real lifestyle change. It took Sliney a long time to accept herself and gain the confidence to rebuild her life. She says for the longest time, she just never felt good enough. But Somer says we can all help victims feel better about themselves, to let them know they are good people and that they're worth something.
It reminds all of us to try to aspire to be someone that our children can come to and trust.
It's that trusted figure that was missing from Sliney's life. She was close with her mother, but kept her abuse a secret for the longest time. And the day she was going to tell, her mother died from a massive heart attack. Sliney blamed herself at first, thinking her mother was taken away from her because she wouldn't be able to handle the news. But what's amazing is the note her mother left for her that day. A note that said, "Be happy, you're loved." And after all these years, Sliney says that's the greatest gift her mother could have ever given her. She shares with me the message she would give her mother in return.
I am happy I'm loved, and I'm happy that I had that love from her.
Sliney's story is truly amazing, but it's just one of many. Today, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are victims of child sexual abuse. 85% of the time, it's by a family member. But most of the time, we don't realize it happens in our own communities. Each and every child, each and every case is important, and it will take each and every individual to help break the silence and bring an end to